What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Five Pod, episode number 69, the nicest episode you'll ever see. I had to. I had to. This is obviously before I'm going to tweet about the episode. I'm probably going to tweet the same thing. It's just going to happen. It's something that has to happen, Cope. I can't control this. Uh, it is what it is, but welcome back. I am your co-host, Kyle Morello. Happy to be back from the Sunshine State. Well, not the Sunshine State, the Golden State of California, where it was very sunny. And of course, the man you've seen throughout all of this, Jake Copestick, my co-host. Cope, how we doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, how about it? I haven't seen in a while. You were definitely having more fun here than we were. Went back to work like pretty much right after New Year's. Just there, some of us are working, Kyle. Some of us are
Some of us
working.
work for a living, I
The
know.
weather here, quite frankly, um, is dog shit. It's freezing outside. Some of the coldest days we've had. It's icy. It's cold. We just had snow for the first time.
In like two
Um,
years, yeah.
yeah, scraping your car in the morning is a huge inconvenience. Then like getting off the train for me, like you gotta scrape it again, and your windshield wipers are frozen on your windshield. Yeah, it's a whole mess. So hopefully you brought back some nice weather. Clearly you didn't,
Clearly I
but
didn't.
hopefully that changes sometime soon. But good to have you back.
Thank you.
Shout out to
Thank
Aaron
you.
Bracey for filling in, by the way.
Yes, well, I was going to get into
Thank you
that.
so much for him.
Um, Aaron Bracey, thank you so much. I know I texted this to you, obviously, but thank you so much for filling in for me. Definitely, we're in an important time of the year here. Definitely wanted to keep it going. So appreciate you stepping in and giving Big Five fans what they want, which is some content. Uh, Whether it's our content, it's to be determined, but you obviously are one of a kind, so I very much appreciate you. I will say I did hear the stadium commentary. I don't think you're wrong. I do think that tours of the stadiums, because I toured Petco Park, I toured Dodger Stadium when I was in California. I think it counts. I think there's an asterisk though, and I think that's fair. I saw the stadium, I was inside, but I do need to see a game of both of those stadiums. So I think you're right, but I also think it counts too. So uh, just wanted to say that too. But I appreciate the banter. It's stadium banter is always a fun one. I do love stadiums. Also the fact that he's been to over 60. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Um, that's insane. But yeah, Cali was it's good weather there, Cope. If you didn't know,
Yeah.
uh,
Sure.
I do miss it. I do miss it. But I also miss talking about Big Five basketball with you. So here we are. We got a whole lot to get into. So Cope, why don't you start us off with some quick hitters? How about we get right into that? Get that ball, get ready to run the break. Let's do it.
Well, I got the ball, certainly as I always do. The only problem is this is Cope's quick hitter, not Cope's
Mm,
quick hitters. We're about to
right.
run the fastest break anybody's ever seen. Just want to throw out a quick Temple score. They're playing in Dallas against SMU tonight. They're down 44-36, a little over 5 minutes down in the second half. The second straight game for the Owls without Steve Settle. He's out with an undisclosed injury. He also missed the North Texas game that we're going to get into. Second straight game, he got dinged up in the Wichita State, the East Carolina game. I believe it was the Wichita State game. I think he actually played through injury in the East Carolina game. But missing a second straight game here. They're down 8 points. Pretty well balanced here. Isaiah Miller, three straight rough games for him, unfortunately. He's 1 for 10, 0 for 7 from three after finishing the last game 0 for 6 from three. So definitely got to get him going. But yeah, really quick today. Not going to chew everybody's ear off, act like I got a lot to talk about because not a lot of quick hitters. That's why we only have one. Just wanted to give a quick Temple score. But still very much in that game against 11-5 SMU. That's probably, in the AAC.
All right. That's a very quick hitter. Definitely to the name. To the name for sure. All right, well, let's go over some weekend and early week hoops we got here. Um, I feel like as we normally do, but they are definitely among the most relevant teams of the Big Five right now. We're going to talk a little bit about Villanova. Um, do want to touch on Friday's beatdown of DePaul, which I'm glad they are continuing to beat down on the bad teams here. Um, they did win 94-69. Justin Moore came back in this one, which is the only really main reason why we're going to talk about this. 2 points in 23 minutes back from his knee sprain. Eric Dixon had a great one, 24 points on a very efficient 9 of 12. Hausen, two, and Brennan Arm, or not, excuse me, not Brennan Armstrong. I was going to say Brennan Hausen, Mark Armstrong, 15 points on 6 of 9 as well. So there was this game. There was also the Marquette game, which they fell 84-71 on Monday. Obviously, Marquette is among contenders of, you know, getting to the second weekend at least in the NCAA tournament, and they proved that. So we can kind of go over both games here, Cope. I think you want to touch on Justin Moore's return and the DePaul game first, so we'll go there. Obviously, he didn't contribute a ton in the box score, but his presence being back is definitely something that can't be understated for Nova.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the 2 points in 23 minutes, sure, it's not the production that you wanted, but the more important thing here is like I touched last week with when talking to Aaron, Nova has a very, very tough stretch to close out this month. They're going to be at home at the Wells Fargo Center against number one UConn on Saturday. They just played this game against Marquette. They're going to see Marquette again. They have Butler. They have to go to Carnesecca Arena to play St. John's. But I actually think it's going to be at the Garden is where they're going to play them. But they have a very tough stretch coming up. The most important thing here was in a game where you knew you were probably going to dominate the ball, what they did. You just wanted to see him get out there and just get his legs back and get a game under his belt. Yeah, they played at Marquette yesterday, home against number one UConn. Then they are at the Garden against St. John's. They're at Hinkle Fieldhouse against Butler, and then they're at home against Marquette at the Finn. It's a very tough stretch to close this month out. So just needed to get him some action, just so he can get some game action under his belt. But I got to give the ball a little bit of credit. They did fight and they did keep this game pretty close, but it was until they decided that they just shouldn't guard Brendan Housen that this game really, really got broken. He had 5 threes in the first half. He had 17 in this game, 15 in all 5 of his threes coming in the first half. And that ended up breaking the game open. Villanova, very good second half, cutting, moving the ball. It looked like a typical Villanova team in that second. And then DePaul got stagnant. And if they weren't running up and down and playing fast, they really couldn't get anything going in the half court. They were playing really good defense and splitting. Shout out to Nova starting 5 gave me a really good laugh on Friday. They had a meme. It was Tony Stubblefield's headshot from DePaul with the LinkedIn hashtag open to work sign on the picture.
I did not see that. That's so funny.
They're 3-13. He's going to get fired after the year. They still won a game in the Big East yet. I think the only team, Kyle, I'm telling you, the only team they might be able to get is Georgetown. This is a very, very good
even
conference.
then,
Butler's been good. Seton Hall's been good. This conference has been dynamite. St. John's is hitting their stride. Xavier is, they're going to be competitive and hit their stride eventually. They just had a win over Butler tonight, so they just played Nova close.
Unless they somehow find a way to win against Providence without Bryce Hopkins, but I don't see that happening either.
I don't even think they can do that. I don't even think they can do that. So Jonathan Nova starting 5 gave me a good laugh on Friday.
It's funny.
In the game yesterday, they'll always talk to have to go to Fiserv Forum and play there. Really good game for Mark Armstrong. The last couple of games, you're seeing the guy who I thought, and again, I'm not saying I thought I was he's going to average 20 a game, anything less a disappointment, but at least to be a scorer here. He's seeing some shots go through he's seeing some shots go in. He's shooting better from 3 the last couple of games, and because of that, he's playing more confidently. He's playing aggressive, which I really like. I mean, he's got to be. If he's not going to be a big-time facilitator out there, and he has had a couple assists the last couple of games, but, at least give another scoring punch here. And that's what he's done the last couple of games, even in this loss. Brendan Housen been hot again, making 3 of his 5 3-pointers. But what I want to touch on here, there's Nova 12 turnovers to Marquette's 3, but just look at how well Marquette's big 3 played here. That's the story of the game. These guys, Oso Ighodaro, Cam Jones, and Tyler Kolek stuffed the stat sheet here. Ighodaro, 18.7 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals. Cam Jones, who's got super deep range, and as a lefty, really, really good scorer, one of the best in this league. 22 points, 10 to 12, Kyle. 10 to 12. Hardly missed in this game, 6 boards and 4 assists. And then Tyler Kolek, widely regarded as maybe the best point guard in the country, certainly the best setup man and the best facilitator. Not only did he have 21 points on 7 of 14, Kyle, not only did he have 5 rebounds, added 2 steals, he had 11 assists, 2 turnovers. 2 turnovers. He is one of the best maestros. in the yeah, exactly. Two of them, and that was 2 or 3 turnovers for the team for a guy that's got
Yeah.
the ball in his hands all the time. So yeah, he's one of the best maestros and the best setup guys in the whole country, and he showed why. And that's these guys have to do this, night in and night out. But that's why this team is so good. They have 3 guys. They have a big man who can pass and is an athlete that can catch lobs. They have a dynamic scorer in Cam Jones and a very good point guard in Tyler Kolek who can not only pass the ball but can score as well. It's going to be another tough battle when they have to come to Finneran Pavilion. And Marquette's got to play here at the end of the month. But it's a tough place to go play against a really good team that also just lost to Butler. They want to protect their home court coming off a loss. Bad situation for Nova, who was without Jordan Longino, by the way, who, as Justin Moore gets back from his injury, Jordan Longino really has been, outside of Justin Moore and Eric Dixon, he's been their best scorer, maybe their best player. So hopefully they said just a sprain. He's day to day. He was in a boot. I would imagine he comes back for the Saturday game with 6 days rest here. But that's a situation to keep your eye on. And he's had a couple poor shooting nights the last couple games, which is uncharacteristic of him because he really was their most consistent offensive player. Outside of the more not a crushing, loss by any means. Good team. It's a ranked team, but you're on the road in a hostile environment if I serve for them. But there's a tough stretch here. We're gonna find out what this Villanova team's made of. There's the number one team in the country coming to Wells Fargo. So it's a really tough 5-game stretch. We're gonna find out a lot about this team. Unfortunately, their first test here didn't get it done.
No, no. I think, if I had to guess, part of the reason for that would probably be due to the fact that Marquette shot 58.7% from the field.
And let them do that.
Cope, that's an insane number. I mean, we like when we see a team when we're doing these box scores and we're talking about all these games, when we see a team shoot above 50% in general, like that's I don't want to say shocking, but it's really, really good, whether it's the opposing team or it's one of the big 5 teams. But when you talk about damn near 60%, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And only 30% of that was from 3 too. Like they only shot 30% from 3. So it's not even like they were raining in threes. They were just getting consistent looks from inside the arc. And it killed them. I mean, you talk about Cam Jones going 10 of 12. It's a really efficient day. You're not going to win games when you let people be that efficient. So, and it's unfortunate because Nova shot the ball well too, 47% from the field, 42% from 3, 10 of 14 from the line. Marquette was 6 of 8, so they didn't shoot as many, but you know, they shot well. They played a good offensive game, but when you get a team like as good as Marquette is and combining it with maybe not your best defensive performance, unfortunately, this is going to happen. But you said the end of the month they're coming to the Finn. I think it could be different. I think it could be the other way around. Obviously, we'll touch on that game in a few weeks when it gets here. But yeah, I mean, definitely encouraging signs. I love what we were saying from Mark Armstrong in the last couple of games. I know we had talked about him around the end of the year, a few weeks ago, saying how he needed to step up, and now he has. So that's a good thing too. So it's not all bad things from this one. Obviously, they dominated DePaul too, so you gotta love that. And they're still 4-2 in conference play. They're sitting toward the top. So good things and bad things from Nova. Cope, speaking of a team that's at the top of their conference, I want to get to the Drexel Dragons because I feel like we haven't maybe shown them enough love on this podcast. Not that we haven't tried, of course. There's just a lot to talk about. We got 6 teams to go over. And they also weren't doing particularly well at the beginning of the year. But now they've won 7 out of the last 8 after beating Elon 89-69 on Saturday. They're 5-0 in CAA play, which is at the top of the conference, of course. And Amari Williams has now won back-to-back Big 5 player of the weeks. I think that's grammatically correct. Don't check me on that. But this was a dominant performance from them. Oak Rose had 22 on 7 of 10 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3. All 5 starters were in double figures. Just like Marquette, they shot over 58% from the field, which again is like shocking when you see that high of a number, close to 60. And 48% from 3, which is insane too. And 16 of 18 from the line. So all around great shooting performance for the Dragons there. And listen, they're the hottest team in the Big 5. Simple as that. How are you liking the Dragons' chances in CAA right now, and kind of everything they've done up to this point to prove that?
Yeah, well, I expected more from them in their non-conference. They did play a tough slate. They played three close city games. They played each game they played in Big Five, I believe, is a 2 point game. So they played three close city games. They played Princeton, played West Virginia. This LaSalle game was 6 points, by the way. Excuse me. They played a 2 point game, the 10th one against Villanova. So they played a bunch of tough games in their non-conference. I thought they could pull more of those out, and I really thought they were a better team in the non-conference than their record showed, and they're showing it now. Um, they have a win over UNC Wilmington. They're taking care of business against bad teams and whooping on them, and a really good win for them here at Elon. Again, another team that they should definitely beat. From the beginning, from when we started previewing these teams, I said that Mateo Cruz is that's kind of their X factor here. There's not a team that, as a whole, shoots very well. They don't attempt a lot of threes in terms of the grand scheme of things. They're sub 300 in terms of 3 point attempts to field goal attempts. So for them to shoot as well as they did this game, and for Mateo Cruz to have the game that he did, it's going to go a long way. He's not going to shoot 6 of 8 every night, but if he can give you this consistently, then you can get Luke House going as well. Like we've seen him have some big games this year. Yeah, they're going to be a force. Like I said, I think this is the perfect storm with everybody coming back to this team and then adding Lucas Monroe. And then Charleston losing a lot of people, and they beat UNC Wilmington last year as well. And they beat Charleston too. Like they were competitive with these teams, and then having Drexel keep everybody might be the perfect storm to win this conference. And they're certainly starting off on the right foot. So we'll give them some more love. I'll try and get down there to the deck for the game. Don't think it's going to happen Saturday. Could maybe get there. They're home Thursday.
We'll
That will
figure it out.
so I'll get down there though, especially for whenever they play Charleston. I just have to figure out where to tune in because I will not be tuning in to watch them play.
Here we go
So
again.
whenever they play Charleston, yeah, I'll make sure it's Saturday, February 10th. Make sure I get. But yeah, they're doing what they should. They have a good win over UNC Wilmington. They're taking care of business against teams that they should beat. They did that again on the road. Where look, it's hard to win on the road in conference, but look at St. Joe's. We're going to talk about. It's hard. It's hard. Conference play is very very tough. Especially it doesn't matter how bad the team you're going to play is. It's tough to win. They're taking care of business, doing everything that they should. This is like I said, this is a better team than I thought the record in the non-conference. I'm a big man, couple guys that can shoot. Dustin Moore's been playing well. Like in everything I see, not a bad word to say about the Dragons right now.
No, no, and I definitely agree that their non-conference it was tough. And maybe they weren't playing their best, but they also, like we said, they were against tougher competition and they had some things to figure out. I think that benefited them though, because now they're 5-0 in conference play and they've dominated some of the teams that they've played, especially the not as good teams in this conference. They're proving what people thought at the beginning of the season, which is that they can compete for a CAA title. So it's been great to see. Cracking up at another mention of Flow Hoops on the podcast. That rivalry will be probably the biggest one by the end of the year, if it's not already, between any Big Five school. It's probably University Flow Hoops at this point. And I love it. And I love it. And I got nothing else to say about the Dragons. I'm thrilled with what I'm seeing from them. So we'll move on. Why don't we talk about those St. Joe's Hawks? Obviously, we'll get to the LaSalle game after this first game, because then we can talk about LaSalle as well. But St. Joe's has not started off A-10 play in very good standing. They lost again on Saturday to Loyola Chicago, 78-75. It was a very close game. Joe should have had it, I think is what this comes down to. Eric Reynolds, masterful performance. Maybe not the crazy most efficient, but 26 points, 7 of 21 from the field. Cameron Brown, 13 on 5 of 8. Xavier Brown, 13 on 4 of 7. Like a lot of these, like when I was looking at the box score, I did not watch the game. I was traveling actually all day on Saturday. Very, very exhausting day for me. But looking back on it, like it seemed like a lot of the team stats stuff were even. I mean, they did force 16 turnovers, which was in their favor. They did get out rebounded 34 to 27, but everything else seemed like shooting percentages and everything. I don't have the 100% exact stats in front of me, but everything seemed really even in this game. So I got to ask you, as someone who I definitely think paid a little more attention to this game than I did just because of my circumstances, what exactly happened? Why did they end up losing this game that they definitely seem like they should have won?
They just went cold down the stretch. The just make free throws in the last 2, 3 minutes or so. Like they just went cold shooting, and then Loyola was able to make some shots, get back in this thing, and ultimately win. You look at the rebounds. Now that Kreese is back and he's getting some run under his belt and his conditioning back. They have to win on the glass here. They definitely have to. Cameron Brown's starting to come back alive. Xavier Brown in conference play has been very good. They forced a bunch of turnovers just as they did last year, but this Loyola team is a lot better. And even though there's transfers, they gelled a lot more. Drew Valentine is another year in. They're not as bad as they were last year, but still, I thought this was a team that, although much improved, I thought that they could handle. Yeah, they went cold at the end, and besides some free throws, that's how they got the 75 here. They couldn't close this thing out, which unfortunately for them, like they've been up in every single game. Like they could easily be a 4-0 team in the Atlantic 10, and they've not only been leading college, they've been leading for a majority of these games for 50, 60, 70, 80% of these games, sometimes even more. And they just can't close it out. Um, the good thing is we're going to talk about a nice win they had against LaSalle, but this was another game that unfortunately they just got to finish. They just got to finish because like I said, they have been winning a lot of these games and they have been playing well for chunks of these games. Just haven't been able to close. But they have the
Yeah.
talent to be a 4-0 team. They're so much better than this. They're so much more talented than be more.
And they've shown that this year.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I wasn't here for the St. Louis game, but I was following a little bit. That seemed brutal. Um, a game when you're up 20 points in, I think you better win. They didn't. Um, but encouraging performance that we're gonna get to now against LaSalle. What was the final score of that one? I have to scroll to it.
22-60.
Uh,
So I was there.
yes,
I was there in the
thank you.
flesh.
You were there in the flesh, so I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna talk a whole lot about it. I'm gonna let you talk about it, Cope. What did you see in this one? Were the Hawks back on track? Was Salle faltering? I know they've had some tough losses that we'll get to another one in the second too, or you can touch on that one as well to VCU. What was the storylines in this one?
Yeah, this was just all St. Joe's. They needed to have this first of all. And LaSalle, that's had trouble offensively, just making enough shots. Another game they're missing Anwar Gill for. They just couldn't keep up with St. Joe's. St. Joe's, they start this game out 19-2. In the blink of an eye, they're Cameron Brown's knocking down threes. Kreese had a big game. There was just so many things that LaSalle just didn't have in this game compared to St. Joe's. St. Joe's has a bunch of shooters. They can put up points fast. They have an explosive offense. They have a big man in Kreese. Rasheer Fleming was awesome in this game, and this was the um, third or fourth straight start for Ryan Zan. I think it was fourth G start every conference game for them. Ryan Zan starts again in the place of Rokas Yotsus, who Fran Dunphy said the rationale behind that is when Rokas can come off the bench because he gets in foul trouble so quickly. When he comes off the bench, he actually ends up playing more minutes total in the game, which I thought was interesting. Definitely a smart play on his part. But when you do that, you're starting Ryan Zan that's 6'7", and you have Shepard, who's a real athletic 6'8" guy, but they don't have a lot of top end size. And when you've Kreese, that's as Fran Dunphy said, a load inside. They just didn't have anything to stop that. So they got killed on the boards as you thought would happen. LaSalle was taking a lot of threes. They were very reliant on the three. Over 50% of their field goal attempts were threes in this game. And for the game, they were only 8 of 32. 25%, obviously. So, just not a good game for LaSalle, who relying on the three, didn't have the size inside to match up, got out rebounded. They got this game to single digits in the second half, but they never, really made it a game. St. Joe's had an answer for them every single time. They had to have this win, and they certainly got it. LaSalle just says, offensively, they have problems without Anwar Gill giving them another ball handler, another scorer who can create for himself a little bit. So, yeah, and LaSalle is just, or St. Joe's is just a deeper, more team as well. Another really good game for Xavier Brown, who was knocking down a bunch of threes. St. Joe's had to have this, and it was kind of a perfect storm. It's like that they're at home. It's a city rival who's shorthanded. They need it way more than LaSalle did. I mean, LaSalle's 1-3 now. It's not by any means like they're out of the woods here. They needed it too, but Joe's really needed this one. They got it done. Oh, good game for Eric Reynolds. Eric Reynolds, by the way, 2 points in the first half, and he made sure to change that very quickly. He knocked down a couple of threes off kind of like a scissors action. They got him some backdoor cuts and some layups as well. Just so fast with the ball, it's hard to keep that guy down. LaSalle did a good job on him in the first half, but hard to keep him down. Good game from Kreese as well, and hey, Rasheer Fleming double 2 blocks in this game as well. His development and how good he's been for them this year. I mean, he's really something. And he's not even really a guy that posts up. Like he's a shooter and a stretch four really. So really good game for Joe's. They had to have this. They were just better team.
Yeah, definitely seemed like that. And I think an observation I've seen about this Joe's team, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, Eric Reynolds is the star. He's going to be the leading scorer. He's going to always look to be, the primary initiator on offense. But I also feel like when there's a huge discrepancy in him being the leading scorer versus anyone else, they play worse than when it's more of a balanced scoring attack. Like in this game, obviously, LaSalle is I don't know if they're as good as Loyola Chicago. You can correct me if I'm wrong with that. I mean, they've obviously played some tough opponents a little bit here, but like, Xavier Brown had 19 points, Kreese at 13. You mentioned Fleming with a double-double. Like Reynolds had 15 on an efficient night. But then you go back to the Loyola game and he had 26 on 7 of 21, but, they went a little cold down the stretch. Do you think maybe when all the players are more involved on offense throughout the entire game, like that's something they need to do more if they want to not have those lulls in their consistency of shooting? Because we all know when they're going good, like that offense is unstoppable. But when they go cold, like Aaron said in a couple of the past episodes this week, they don't have anything to bounce back off of that. So do you think that's like accurate, or do you think it's just not really a thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's definitely some truth to it. I mean, if they're going to get contributions from everybody, and Aaron asked a good question. He said to Billy Lang, like you got everyone contributed today. Sean Simmons had 5 rebounds. Sean Simmons had a couple buckets in this game. Xavier Brown had the game that he did. Finkley came in and played well in the minutes that he played. Yeah, when they can get everybody contributing in one way or another, it's huge. But yeah, like when everybody's knocking down shots and it's like, okay, it's not just Eric Reynolds. There's Cameron Brown and Xavier Brown and, Kreese can step out and hit one every now and then. And for sheer Fleming's hitting, like if you have a lot of guys hitting shots, spreads everybody out for you. So yeah, I mean, not exactly like a hard concept either. Like, yeah,
No,
when you
no.
have everybody else scoring,
I wasn't saying
it's
it was
gonna
a
work
hard
for you.
concept, but you obviously see teams and you want to take college or NBA, whatever you want to do. You take teams that have these star scorers. For instance, this is like a kind of weird example, but like those mid 2000s Lakers teams, like they were all Kobe for the most part. Like he was averaging 35 a game. Uh, he had Smush Parker in the backcourt. Like they weren't great teams, but he kind of willed them to the playoffs and whatever kind of success they had in the playoffs. Obviously, when they got different stars, they became a championship team. Like I'm obviously like you want everyone to get involved, but I also feel like you don't want it to be so top heavy with Reynolds. And I feel like sometimes that can happen. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, and that happens when they don't.
Yeah.
So no, I mean you're absolutely 100% right. When they're going to have games like this, I think Cameron Brown to get him going, to have him knock down a couple shots early and to get going, in this year, he's going to have to be one of those guys behind Lingrier, who even if Lingrier is not in the score column, like
He's
he
contributing.
did have a great shooting game the last couple games. Like he rebounds, he passes. I mean, he's might be their best defender.
Yeah,
He can do other things as well. So yeah, you're 100% right. But in this game, your theory is absolutely right. They got contributions from
everybody ate.
every single guy that stepped on the court.
Yeah, everybody ate. All right, back to the Explorers here. They obviously had the tough one against St. Joe's. They also had a tough one against VCU, losing 71 to 65 on Saturday. They were up three at halftime in this game. Um, Brickus and Yosuits were the only real scorers in this one. Brickus had 20 on 7 of 15. Rokas had 11 on 5 of 17. Brantley really, really struggled, 8 on 2 of 15 in this one. And that kind of inefficiency kind of was an underlying tone of LaSalle on this day. 33.8% from the field, 26% from three. And on the other hand, they allowed VCU to shoot 47 and 46% respectfully. So close game, obviously, but it definitely came up feeling empty. And it's kind of been a theme where they haven't really been able to find efficient offense in a long time, which is a bit of a concern. So I don't know how you're feeling about this Explorers team. Obviously, the record's still decent overall, but the conference record is not off to a good start. And they've got Dayton next week, which we won't cover until early next week. But uh, they are probably the team in the Big Five that I feel like is trending downward the most, unfortunately. Would you agree? Either them or
Yeah, I
Temple.
mean they ended non-conference not great. With the loss to Howard that they definitely could have had. Now they played that Miami game close, but I thought they definitely should have had that Howard game and non-conference play. It's just unfortunate because they outside of this Joe's game, they were winning it against George Mason at halftime. They were close against UMass at halftime. They were winning this VCU game at halftime. They just don't have enough offense, Kyle. Like they really don't. And the problem is they have two ball handlers, obviously, in Brickus and Brantley, and those guys have to really do everything. They have to be the leading scorers. They have to be the facilitators, and not that they're not capable, but like they're
But
they're
they
the
do everything.
guys that it runs through and they do everything. And Andres Morello had a very good game yesterday, but when that doesn't happen, we've talked all year about how they're thin, and now you're missing Anwar Gill. So it's like, okay, are we going to play seven? Lucas Mercandino came in very, very late in the game after Tunde had fouled out. But even for Tunde as a young player, he's made some shots the last couple of games, and he finished with 3 points in this game. So it's like you're asking a lot of the young guys to step in, and now Tunde, it's like, hey, like we need you to score. Like they're young. There's no proven depth. Like that'll come with time as these guys develop. But for right now, Kyle, like when they go cold, you're just gonna have to fight through it, like you just are. And you got to hope that you can rest on your defense. So unfortunately with them, yeah, the offense comes and goes. They didn't have any size in this in the Joe's game, and then a team that in VCU that's got a little bit of size, but some dynamic guards as well. That can really shoot it. Choga and Bairstow, the Utah State guys, 14 and 13 apiece. It's going to be tough with this team sometimes. That, like I said, the offense is going to come and go. It's going to be a little inconsistent, and things like this might happen, unfortunately, where they kind of run out of steam. We saw a couple of times even last year, like the offense kind of fizzled out in games sometimes. Just kind of going to happen, unfortunately. And you're also playing against a team in VCU that can go 10 deep post to LaSalle game. Just going to happen sometimes. With the Warriors, they're going to be they were in this game. They were leading at halftime. They were in it against UMass, who's going to be one of the best teams in this conference. It's been a nice surprise. Can they finish is the question. They have the guards and the coach, like I said, many times from the season previews up until now. They're going to be in these games. They're going to be in games they should. they're going to be in games where they're heavy underdogs. Like how are they doing this? But talent wise, depth wise, might not be there all the time.
Yeah, and it's just not there, unfortunately. Especially when you have injuries too, and it kind of crushes the depth that you already didn't have.
Mhm.
Um, it's a blow. It's a big blow. And Fran Dunphy's an incredible coach. We know this. That backcourt is really, really good. But they also struggle with efficiency issues. And when they're the two biggest stars of the offense by far, it's hard to make up for that when they're not hitting their shots. So unfortunately, it's kind of a slippery slope there for them. Do I think they can overcome this? I don't know. I don't know. They have to figure it out pretty fast, though. It's already mid-January. Um, yeah. So we shall see. I don't know exactly what the rest of A10 play will look like for them, but I also remember last year that they didn't start off too great, and then they went on a little bit of a run too, kind of what St. Joe's did. Um, and then it didn't end great, and then it did end kind of good. So there's a kind of complex there, but if there's anyone that I have confidence in getting them right, it is Fran Dunphy. So that remains to be seen. All right, we got one more game to go over here from Monday. Of course, we're talking about the Quakers here. Unfortunately, they dropped to Cornell, 77-60. Still without Clark Slackert. He missed his third straight game with his injury. Reese McMullen had 15 points off the bench, which is a career high for him. Um, Only two times he's been in double figures have been in the last two games. So how about that, Cope? Getting contributions from players, even with Slackert out. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, though. Um, Cornell shooting almost 43s in this game, 14 of 39, about 36%. They had six players having multiple threes. Um, Other than Reese McMullen, Spinoso was one of the other good players in this game, 12 points, 11 rebounds, a double-double for him. Uh, Unfortunately disappointing. Obviously, we talked about the Slacker loss. Not a great one for them. Um, he is obviously their biggest scoring output, and has been for a few years now. So it's gonna be hard to navigate. I still think they're, a solid team, but unfortunately they ran into a decent Cornell team as well. So Cope, what do you make of this game?
Yeah, look again. Cornell is right up there with Princeton, with Yale, to be at the top of this conference and to play in the Final Four for a chance to go to the tournament. The way they play is just so much fun under Brian Earl. Kyle, how about the best 2 point shooting percentage according to Ken Palm, 63.5% as a team, the best 2 point shooting percentage. They put up so many threes and play so fast. The fifth fastest pace offense, 26th overall, 19th in 3 point attempts to field goal attempts. They love to run and gun, and they have a ton of guys that can shoot. I mentioned Kyle, six different guys for Cornell had two threes in it. They can spread you out. They're going to go fast. They're going to put up a lot of threes. Although they took almost 40 and they shot about 36%, that ends up being the difference here when you make 13 threes here. And without Clark Slacker and Tyler Perkins having a rough shooting night here, only having 7 points, it's a bad recipe when that's the case. You have to go there against a team that plays very fast, that can put up points in a hurry. You don't have your best player and your leading scorer. Also turned the ball over 17 times. So didn't really give themselves a chance. They had to play very well, maybe play a little bit slower. Don't make this a track meet with Cornell. But they turned the ball over a lot. Hence the 17-point loss. So they have Brown coming up, which is a team that they should definitely beat. Brown, I thought could actually be a little bit more competitive this year, even with the motion. They are going to be at Brown, and then they're home against Princeton, which would be a really, really big game. So they have some games coming up here that I think are winnable for them, and that's kind of a measuring stick game. Hopefully they have Clark Slacker back for that. I think they said February for when he could be ankle injury for that when he misses a Princeton game, but yeah, just a tough opponent here to not have your leading score. Because if there's a game that you want them here for, sure, it could be Princeton, Yale, but a team like this that can put up points in a hurry, just as they did last year. Tough matchup for Penn, especially when they was in the red that much, turn the ball over, losing the turnover battle like that, and having a rough shooting night from a guy like Tyler Perkins.
Yeah, unfortunately, all those factors is a recipe for disaster against a team as good as Cornell is so far this season. You don't have your best player, and one of your other best players so far this season doesn't shoot well. It all kind of snowballs. So hopefully Slacker can come back sooner than later. I know you said like the mid-February timeline. Hopefully that ends up working out, if not sooner. Because it would be really disappointing if he missed any other time outside of that. Because well, they're gonna need him. Even though I do think they got some good pieces on this Penn team, uh, they need their guy, and Clark Slacker's their guy. So that is that. And that is all for games we have to go over. It was a lot of them, Cope. There was a lot of basketball being played, which we love. Don't get me wrong there. It was a pleasure talking about all that. Only one game to preview so far for the midweek here. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but Drexel at home against Monmouth on Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll probably be recording during that game. Um, but we can touch on this real quick. Obviously, this Monmouth team 2-2 in conference play. I think one of those was to Drexel. I don't know. I might be mistaken from a different team. My mind's been all over the place lately, obviously. We're getting back into the swing of things here, but Drexel 5-0 conference play so far. I'm not that I'm going on a crazy limb here, but I do think Drexel's going to win this game. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I agree. Last year, Monmouth 7-26.
Yes, that's what I was. Yeah.
Not good at all. They actually beat Drexel at home though. Not at the DAC, but at where Monmouth played. But yeah, this team was dreadful last year. Definitely a lot better this year. 2-1 or 1-2 against them actually because they played them in the CAA tournament. Two losses to the big dogs. So they beat Towson, beat Northeastern, but they did lose on the road at both UNC Wilmington and Charlotte. This team, 29th best 3-point shooting team in percentage wise, winning KenPom, 325th in 2-point percentage though. So definitely a team that is thrives, although they don't take a ton of threes, they thrive shooting them and making them. Yeah, a lot better this year, Kyle. A lot better this year under King Rice. His son Xander uh, is their leading guy as far as scoring goes, but yeah, definitely a winnable game for Monmouth. Oh, I think they'll go to 6-0. Like with Drexel, Kyle, now that they've gotten off to the start that they have, they're Hofstra's good, Delaware's competitive. There's only really like 4 games where they're on the road that I almost think are losable. And I'm not going Woods, so I don't jinx them, but they've already taken care of business against UNC Wilmington, and they're going to get Charleston at home here. Like I really like their chances to make a big run in this tournament, in this conference, and be the 1 or 2 seed going in to March. But yeah, I think they'll move on to 6-0 here before they have quick turnaround. Then they're home against Delaware, who's going to give them a run for their money, who's competitive under Martin English. But I like them to move to 6-0 here, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely agree. And this the CAA races, you mentioned Delaware being competitive. I'm kind of looking at the standings right now. Towson and Monmouth are kind of in the same like third tier, kind of. But the three-headed monster is really Drexel, Charleston, and UNC Wilmington. And UNC Wilmington started off 2-2 in conference play. Obviously, one of those being Drexel. So yeah, I think they have a really, really good chance to get one of those top 2 seeds, if not the top seed. Obviously, right now it'll come down to when they play Charleston. Um, but like, there's a very realistic chance that we're looking at the best chance of a Big Five team getting to the tournament this year, being with these Drexel Dragons as it is right now. Obviously, Villanova's toward the top of the Big East, but that's one of the most competitive leagues in the country, if not the most competitive league in the country. Um, and St. Joe's, I think, still has a good shot too, as we were texting about earlier today. But, they got some things to figure out too. So I think right now, Drexel probably has the best chance of any of the Big Five teams to get to the tournament this year, which is something, not something that wasn't completely unexpected. I mean, they were picked to be one of the best teams in the CAA, but for it to be playing out like people predicted is definitely a cool thing to see. So we'll see what happens there. And that's all we got for this episode. Cope, do you have a score update for us for Temple SMU?
Absolutely. Let me get that for you. And then I'm
Okay.
going to hop off here. Um, So I can, as the college basketball sicko I am, I can make sure I'm on my couch for the 10:30 Mountain West tip-off on CBS between 16-1. How about this time? 16-1, number 16th ranked Utah State, Danny Sprinkle's first year, going into Albuquerque, going to the pit, play New Mexico, just had a big win over San Diego State. So I'll make sure my there for
Oh
that.
yeah.
They are down 10. It's 73-64. There's a minute 11 left.
Okay.
So it looks
So
like
unfortunately,
SMU is
looking
going
like
to.
another Temple loss,
Yes.
which I
Um,
can't say we weren't expecting, unfortunately. Uh,
yeah, I can't say that I'm
yeah,
totally. I said like
we'll talk
North
about it.
Texas and SMU are going to be two of them. So
Yeah.
like two of the with North Texas coming in, they're going to be good. SMU is going to be way better than we were last year, just on a kind of a different level. And
Yeah. Don't you guys worry. We will be talking about that game next episode. We're not going to go over it right now. It's fresh, and we've gone over a lot of basketball. We don't want to bombard you guys, um, but we do very much appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, Cope, any final thoughts here besides that score before we sign off?
nope, all good. Good to have you back. Glad you made it back in one piece after being out there for a while. And
Thank you.
dude, we have like 2 months till March.
I
Think about that.
know
It's flying. It is flying. It's crazy.
it is. It
Crazy.
is.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's insane. I think actually a lot of like the major conference tournaments start 2 months from today. I'm pretty sure. Um, which is insane. Or maybe it's Selection Sunday that's 2 months from today. I'll have to look again. But we're in that range, folks. We're getting there. Soon enough, it's gonna be March. You know what happens in March.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing too, Cope, we were talking about this too while I was out there in Cali. Went to a UCSB game at the Thunderdome. Got to see the Gauchos in a crazy, crazy win that they had over Cal State Bakersfield. Former Temple guy, Josh Pierre-Louis, still playing for the Gauchos. Got a ticket right here, one of three. My brother and my aunt. And I went, definitely going to order some Gauchos gear. They didn't really have a ton at the stadium, but pretty cool environment there. Wasn't a full arena by any means, but they were loud. And they ended up coming back and winning a game, an ugly game, but a wild one. And just wanted to say great respect to the Big West and to UCSB and the Gauchos, which also crazy cool name and logo that they have over there in Santa Barbara. And Santa Barbara is a beautiful place too. So just wanted to shout them out because that was a cool experience that I got to see. You don't often get to see Big West basketball. Um, but we'll get back to strictly talking about the Big Five for now. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Make sure you subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on social media at Big Five Pod. That would be Twitter and Instagram, of course. And make sure you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Um, and with that being said, we'll see you in a few days. How about that?